Cindy Dunnigan. Welcome to another episode of the Stafford Report. Today we're going to talk about something a little different. We're not going to talk about our day programs and our high school students, but we're going to talk about the evening division and our adult ed division with the director of those programs. With me today is Mr. William Lucci. Bill, nice of you to join me here today.
It's nice to be back.
That's true. We've done this before, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
So I noticed when we were planning the Stafford Report, I noticed that the flyer had gone out for the spring semester, and I thought it must be time to have Mr. Lucci back on the show to talk about the amazing opportunities that are available through our adult ed division.
Right. Stuff that we do in-house, and then things that we do in partnership with other organizations in the state, so we could talk a little bit about those things too.
So I took the flyer and I did a quick count, and I was up over the number 30 and the different offerings, and they're kind of broken down into a wide variety of classes. I think we're probably best known for the LNA, phlebotomy, welding, the CDL program. So let's talk about those last. Let's talk about some of the things that people maybe don't know that are going on. And I think the first thing, very briefly, is the EdToGo piece. So we have a totally online learning system with hundreds of classes,
Yep.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, there's 300 classes. A lot of them are in the personal enrichment category, but probably split 50-50 split. About 50% of them are also for workforce development skills that very affordable online classes. You can do it at your own pace. Those are self-paced tutorials. And then you can get, if you want an instructor that's online and be in an in-class classroom with other students, there's one that's instructor-led. They're the same price, same curriculum, but some people just sort of prefer to do it outside of a structured calendar. We actually have a partnership with Vermont Adult Learning, and students who are enrolled at Vermont Adult Learning who are getting their high school diplomas, not their GED, but actually a high school diploma, and they need certain classes to put into place so they can get their high school diploma, are now using us as the vendor for those online classes so people can take the classes that they need in order to get that diploma, which is pretty exciting. And we're doing it with Vermont Adult Learning in Brattleboro, Bennington, and Rutland, all three of those sites, with a promise of 2 more sites coming on board next month, which is pretty nice. And as I said, the classes are very affordable. They're $100 for a class, and you get a diploma when you're done, or a certificate of completion if you need it for work. And you know, they come in every variety, in business classes, computer security classes, pretty much anything that you want. Are available online at a really affordable price, and they come right through the Stafford portal, which is nice.
Yeah, so I've actually taken 2 of those classes, and I found them to be extremely helpful. I took one on using social media in business, and since I manage the social media for Stafford, I found that to be really helpful. And I took one on the web page design, so that was very helpful as well for our Stafford webpage, staffordonline.org.
And did you go instructor-led? Or?
I did instructor-led, so I looked at the 2 options. The instructor-led is, it's over a certain amount of weeks. There were, I think, 12 weeks of lessons, and there were a couple extra weeks at the end to finish all of the lessons that you had done. But both of them also had the option of doing them at your self-paced tutorial. I preferred having other people who were going through it at the same time in the discussion boards, which is, you know, it's a matter of preference.
And I think with Vermont Adult Learning, what I've found, I think we had 36 students last year. Most of them, the high school age kids, prefer to have self-paced, and the adults prefer to have the instructor-led class, which is pretty interesting. It'd be interesting to determine like why that is, why it's split.
Maybe
by
it's
age.
just the older people are more familiar with having
Right.
somebody be kind of in charge of your educational journey.
Right. So it's nice that they offer that that split so that you get the learning and you're able to participate in a format that people
And everything I needed
with.
was included, so I was doing WordPress, and they had a WordPress site where I was allowed to build a website at no cost through a hosting service. So it was available throughout the course, and it just recently expired, but you had the opportunity to then pay and upgrade and keep all of that yourself,
Right.
or maintain it at the free level. I thought the experience was definitely worth it, and as I scrolled through and looked at all of the options, I feel like there really is something there for everyone. Maybe you want to, like I did, learn more about WordPress. Maybe you want to learn about computer security. Maybe you want to learn about, there were things on parenting, there were things on drawing, everything was really covered.
There was a gentleman who works for the medical center who was sort of dissatisfied with some computer classes. He was doing network security and things at the hospital through IT, and he was dissatisfied with the courses at a college up in the Burlington area. Didn't like the way it was structured, and just found it not to his liking. So he tried out one of our networking classes on EdToGo, and just absolutely loved it, and then took 2 or 3 subsequent classes after that. The other thing is, he had mentioned that a class up at this college that he took it as a continuing ed student was somewhere in the neighborhood. It was over $1,000.
Wow.
And he attested to the fact that he learned more from the class through EdToGo than he had with a class that was 10 times the price.
And I noticed, I had looked at some of those classes as well, and they're really geared to helping you pass those certifications,
Right.
that Norton A+, or Norton Security Plus, or Network Plus. They're really geared to preparing you for that industry recognized credential, which in the computer security field is arguably as important as a degree.
Right, and that's and I think, for people who need that validation, personally and professionally, it's nice that EdToGo provides that opportunity for you to validate to either your employer or to yourself that you really know what you're talking about in whatever category that you take. And a good thing for students to look at is, well, I don't know if I really know anything about it. I've never taken an online class before. And there's a part of the site when you're in the investigation stage that you can go and look at student evaluations of the same class and see what they said about it. So if you're wondering, is this really a good class? Is it meaningful? Is it worthwhile? Is it going to help me with my career or personally? It's great to be able to go on there and see what other people who are just like you are saying about the quality of the class.
So that's one aspect of stuff that Stafford offers out there besides our high school programs. Let's talk a little bit about those kind of enrichment classes that are offered at night. Now, I know that the hand-thrown wheel pottery class is very popular, but that's not the only artsy class that you offer. There's drawing and painting, and there's photography, and there's even game design. There's all kinds of things in the arts. There's things in many different categories. Why don't you highlight a few?
Well, you mentioned the one with Gretchen Gould, who used to be a teacher at Rutland High School, but decided to retire at a very young age to have children. And she wanted to still teach because she loves art, and in particular she loves pottery. And we've offered her that class every fall and spring semester for the last 8 years. So it's run 16 semesters in a row because she's a phenomenal teacher. And you read the evaluations, getting back to evaluations, student evaluations of her instruction and what the classroom climate is like every Monday night when she teaches the class. It's pretty outstanding to see just how good she is and how much people like to take her class. And we've actually had people take the same class twice. I don't know if it's because they're not very good at throwing pottery, or it's just they like the class itself or the instruction. But that class is, as I said, it's been 16 times in a row. Nick Delory teaches culinary classes for us. And
yeah, he does like an around-the-world cuisine class, if I'm not mistaken.
that class, we've actually had, the last time around we had 6 high school kids seniors take the class in order to graduate. They were not from the public schools, they were from a private school locally, and they absolutely loved the class. He's a wonderful, enthusiastic instructor, obviously knows what he's talking about.
Stafford grad. He
Stafford
attended
grad.
Stafford in the culinary program.
Right, and a graduate from Culinary Institute of America through CIA. So he's skilled, but he's skilled as a chef, but also skilled as a teacher. Loves to teach, and people who take his class, and that class runs regularly, at least once a year. Mark Holmes teaches watercolor painting. Mark retired from our IT department at Rutland High School, or Rutland Public Schools a couple of years ago, and Mark teaches watercolor drawing and portrait drawing, and people just love what he brings to the classroom to teach.
He's also a talented cook himself.
He is. He's got a lot of talent. So I try to talk him into doing an IT class, and he's like, no, I don't want to do that. That's what I did for work.
But we do offer, there's a computer maintenance and kind of troubleshooting and a network.
Yep, Chris Lubinsky teaches that class. He actually went and graduated from Stafford. He was in our IT Solutions class and Cisco Networking Academy before those programs left the center. But Chris is a great teacher, and he's employed at the hospital as in the IT department. He's a great, very patient teacher, and does that IT Solutions class for us, and we enroll that at least once a year.
And I saw, I went through all of the offerings. I had looked at the flyer, which is available online, and it went out in the Rutland Reader and in the Herald as an insert. There's a class on investing, and we all know we should be investing for our future in some form, and you're actually offering a class that would break it down and get someone started.
Yep, and that class that's an interesting class, because most of the people who take it are already investing in some way, whether it's just through a regular 401k or just personally saving. But what Jeremy Carroll teaches that class. He's a young guy who came back to Rutland to open the Edward Jones, another office of Edward Jones on the near Mr. Twitter's, and Jeremy is an excellent teacher. Interestingly enough, with 3 people from Edward Jones, 3 different people have taught the class over the last 15 years. And they're all excellent instructors. But what Jeremy offers you is an opportunity to get enough information about how to invest in stocks and bonds, if you want, and develop a portfolio and what happens with that, and gives you just enough information and some confidence that you can do this yourself. But he also offers the opportunity, like if this is too overwhelming and outside of your comfort zone for money, and you want a professional, that he'd be willing to work with you as the financial advisor. So you leave there being able to make an informed decision about how you want to proceed with that. And the class is, I think, ridiculously inexpensive to take, which kind of is counterintuitive to an investment class, perhaps.
Right.
But the class is very affordable, and people who tend to take that class, again, we accumulate student evaluations of the class, and we've never had anybody say anything bad about the experience when they've left. So that's a good class for people to take as well, if they're interested, and particularly now where the economy is booming and you might have some disposable income and want to get it out of a conventional savings account that's earning 1%. It's a great opportunity to do it.
And I feel like it's a topic we all know and understand. We should be investing in a way that will support us so that we can retire and be comfortable. But personally, I don't feel like I have a whole lot of confidence in that. I'm doing all of these things, but am I doing enough? Am I doing the right things? Am I doing way too much? So that one had definitely caught my eye, and I saw how to launch a startup. So I hear from students all the time, they want to own their own business, they want to be their own boss. We actually offer an enrichment class on what goes into starting something.
Right, and that class, that class hasn't run in, I think this will be the start of the second year, but the last time it ran, we had some people in it, and it was when the economy wasn't doing so well, and people were like, oh, maybe they had lost their job or were laid off temporarily, so that gave them an opportunity to think like, well, maybe I can start my own business and do something on the side. And that class really takes you from the ground floor up and what you need to do. It talks about having an idea, but taking that idea and putting it in the context of, do you really know what you're talking about? If you want to start this business, do you have the experience, and what am I going to have to do to become skillful in that? Where am I going to get the money to start the business up? Is there a market for it here? All those things, it's a very mindful approach to, like everybody maybe would have an idea, like I want to start my own business, and you're enthusiastic about it, and you think like I've got the time and I've got the wherewithal to do it, but it takes you in all of the areas that you may not consider outside of your own enthusiasm to make sure that you're making an informed decision about something that could have serious effects on your professional life and your financial life and your family
ability
life.
to invest.
Exactly. Yeah, there you go. Take them together, both of those classes together. But it was a great class and a great experience, and people left there feeling like, now I can. Now, if I do this, I'm doing it with an understanding of this makes sense for me at this time in my life, financially and personally and otherwise.
Right, so you can't mow lawns in the winter, really.
Yeah, imagine.
Not in here, not in Vermont.
Did you hear about that person that was in the class that made that suggestion?
No, I was joking. So now our well-known programs, the LNA and the related, that whole allied health.
Yep.
What's going on there?
The latest course in that stable of classes that we have is the medical assistant class that we do. We had the first cohort last year, and we did it with Community Health, in partnership with Community Health, which was pretty nice. We used, they used us and we used them to develop a class that would get people an opportunity to earn that certification, that credential through the National Health Career Association, a certified clinical medical assistant, the CCMA.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me that a local business approached you wanting a custom designed class to result in a specific industry credential, and you said,
yes,
I can do that?
Yes.
And it's not the first time you've said yes to a request like that.
We say yes all the time.
Okay.
That's the benefit of not knowing what no is to be able to say yes all the time. But they did. They were taking. They had enrolled a number of their employees into a course that was taking far too long, and they were taking classes that frankly they thought were not necessary in order for them to be medical assistants, to do a good job with that. So we developed a class or a course or a program that met their needs specifically for medical assistants. And the class it's 154 hours total, highly intensive. It was 9 hours a week, 3 nights a week, 9 hours, over a period of 5 months. But proud to say that, and completely surprising to me, all 14 people that were enrolled in the class passed the national certification exam. So we were 14 for 14, which was
better than hoped.
Way better than, you can't do any better than that. And frankly, they were really excited about the fact that had happened, because the first time pass rate nationally, the national average is under 70%. So we were sort of prepared to have some people not be successful, and that didn't happen. So currently we've got 10 people taking the second cohort started. We've got 10 people in it, and community health has 4 people four of the 10 are community health people, new people that are
So
coming
it's
into the program.
expanded to
Yeah.
include people other than the initial request
Yep.
for that programs. And that sounds like getting ahead in that career field, and more licensures or more certifications are always a benefit.
Sure.
It's a benefit to the employer and the employee.
The payment for most of, there were some VSAC non-degree grant, advancement grant people, but the majority of the funding to support the class came from community health, that they invested in, they were all incumbent workers, so they were investing in their own employees with additional training and education and training to move them up and along in the organization, which, you know, General Electric is another company that does that, Omea does that, Agrimark does that, Casella does that. So you've got employers who are willing to take good workers because the market's so tough to find good workers. Why lose them to another company because somebody else is willing to invest in them? Now companies are saying, I'm willing to take in-house dollars to pay for the advancement and training for people that are already doing a good job for us to keep them. So that's really nice because frequently people who want to advance, that becomes the barrier for them for a lot of cases. It's like, I don't have the money to pay for this.
Right.
And
VSAC is such a great Vermont
yeah.
institute that
Yeah.
is so important because they do have not only money for college, but for these non-degree programs. The program gets them a certification but doesn't earn them a degree, and they have money set aside just for this sort of workforce development.
They do, and to his benefit, to his credit, Governor Scott and the legislature this past year put even more money into, it used to be called the non-degree grant, it's now called the advancement grant, but the parameters are still the same. And the legislature and Governor Scott put a significant amount of additional funding, I think it was $500,000 extra, into the advancement grant program so that people who are out there and want to avail themselves of financing, and it's income sensitive, so it's not a slam dunk
Right.
that if you apply for it, you get it. But most of the people that are applying for it in our instance are getting at least the full grant, which is $2,500, or a partial grant, which is pretty significant, that takes that barrier away. It's like, well, I can't do that anyway because I don't have the money. Now, that's not an excuse not to do it, which is really nice.
So, and it's not just medical assisting. We have LNA, we have phlebotomy,
Yep.
so there are other things in that kind of career field. And then swinging the pendulum in sort of a different direction, we have a pretty advanced welding school at Stafford for that kind of workforce development, adult ed, maybe even just personal enrichment. Maybe you've always wanted to learn how to weld.
Yep. The welding program is, we've got now 2 people that are teaching. We have the pillar of adult education, which is...
The pillar of adult education, you know, I know who that is.
Who is it?
Would that be Mr. T. Bosnich?
It is. It is Anton Bosch, new father, and because he's a new dad, he works in the day program, as you know, and then comes back and teaches at night. Everybody loves him as an instructor because he's so skilled and so committed to bringing people along in a field that he absolutely loves. And we've found a former student who works with for Casella, who wanted to teach, and we've trained him over the last 3 months.
He's been under the wing of the pillar?
He has been under the wing of the pillar, and he is teaching our Shielded Metal Arc Welding 2 class that started earlier in the week. It started last Monday, and Eric Diefendorf is and he's a young kid with a dream, excellent teacher, fully endorsed by Tony as somebody who could do what he's doing. So we've added him to our list of instructors in the welding program, and he's absolutely loving the opportunity, and he's excited about it.
And he's still under the watchful eye of Tony at that point, so
Yep.
he's learning all of those great instructor skills from Tony, who is such a great instructor that, you know, people just love.
That's what it's all about. Is one of the and we've talked, you and I've talked about this, is that Andrea Sheehan, who teaches phlebotomy, is a graduate of Stafford Technical Center. Nick Delory, who's a graduate of Stafford Technical Center, is teaching the culinary classes. Mark Holmes, who worked with us for so many years, has come back to teach. So everybody's connected to.
And Dan Lovell and
yeah, Dan Lovell is teaching the Photoshop classes and digital photography. So everybody who's working in the evening division is so committed to the school and so in a variety of ways that they want to share what they love with people who are unsure.
Even slightly interested.
Yeah.
Like, let me light that fire in you. Let me ignite that spark and really bring you along and show you what you are capable of.
Right.
Right.
And that's what it's about. When you've got people who love what they're doing, they want to share those skills with people who think they might want to try it out, as you said. It just makes it a lot easier. The people that are teaching in the evening aren't people who are like, well, I'm just doing this for the extra money. It's not. It's because they really, really and truly love what they're doing, and they want to bring people into the field that they love so much, which is great. It makes my job a lot easier. And reading the instructor evaluations, it makes it easier for me to read those, because it's very seldom that someone doesn't say something extremely positive about the instruction that they received in those classes.
So we are you and I are extremely lucky. We're at Stafford every day. We love our jobs. We love the people we work with. We love the service that we're providing to the community, whether it's through our adult ed and our enrichment programs, whether it's our high school day programs. And some of your classes are available during the day. There's
yeah, we have L&A during the day for single parents who would not be able to go from 6 to 9 because they've got young children. That class has gone for five or 6 years now, where we've got parents who actually say, like, I would not be able to do this without having it from 10 to 2 when my kids are in school.
And Mr. Lucci, it just feels like we're going to have to schedule another whole episode. We didn't talk about the electrical plumbing. We didn't talk about the CDL. We didn't talk. There are so many more things going on through your division.
Yeah.
All of the stuff that you do, your commitment to making things work for everyone from community health to the Department of Transportation, right?
Right.
You did things for them over the summer.
Yep, we have a welding class that literally brings in municipal garage workers from all over the state. Tony Bosnich teaches that class, and we've been running that. We won a 5-year contract from the state of Vermont to provide both introduction and advanced welding to and those skills to a very select group of people who work in municipal garages. But again, it's your
dedication to creating what the customer, the client needs. So you've got like 15 seconds.
Well, I think it's having an opportunity to come back another time would be awesome for us, and we can talk about our electrical plumbing apprenticeship program and our commitment and alliance with General Electric Aviation. Let's get together again soon.
We'll do it again.
Great.
Thank you so much for joining me today, and thank all of you for tuning in and watching and learning a little bit about the adult ed division of Stafford Technical Center. We'll see you next time.
Great, thank you.